Salutations, Legion of Doom. Welcome to Podcast of the Storm, where social outcasts, crazy weirdos, and all of our nerds convene to talk and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the nerdy occultist, aka the Authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Good evening, all, and rest in peace, Betty White.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't any relevant news stories that would enable us to cover that story, but yes, that was definitely the most important thing that happened over the course of this week, other than, of course, happy 2022, everybody.
Yay! Hope y'all are okay and aren't suffering too bad of hangovers.
Or in my case, dreading the coming year because you have a terrible feeling that everything is going to go horribly wrong.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. I say that as your friend.
Okay. Anyway,
and I'm
on with the normal proceedings.
And I am your host, / Time Lord Wannabe, the brainstormer of pop culture. Yeah, so it was kind of a short. It's going to be kind of a short one, I think.
Ironically, I kept seeing throughout December things I thought we should cover, and I just for some reason never linked them, so now I can't find them anymore, and that's annoying me.
I didn't see anything I thought was worth covering, to be honest, except for a few things that came out like last week or so.
Mm-hmm. But I think we got most of the major stories, and also there are opportunities ahead for both of us to rant at various things. So
yeah,
you'll get your money's worth out of this one, folks.
Yeah. So,
granted, we don't earn any money from this as yet, but you'll get your metaphorical money's worth from it.
Mm-hmm. All right. So this is something Dawn sent to me actually today. If you want to read the actual article, it's from ScreenRant.com. There's a link down in the description.
Yeah, ScreenRant.com hates Brainstormer's computer for some reason, so every time we cover something Screen Ranty, I now have to copy and paste it into a Word document. But on my honor as an occultist, I have not altered a single line from the text of the article other than to remove like the ads and shit. And I think also the date this time I might have removed. But that was because it said like posted 3 hours ago or something like that. So it didn't even technically have the date on it.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, Dalton sent me this. I won't lie. I saw this earlier, and I didn't really care to cover it, but I figured we could use something else. So yeah. Again, this is from ScreenRant.com. The Boys showrunner explains why Homelander could easily beat Superman. The Boys showrunner Eric Kripke believes Homelander could easily defeat DC Superman in a fight and explains why in a recent interview. This is by Connor Schwartzbigger. I'm sorry if I said the name wrong. I like your last name. I can't pronounce it, man. I'm sorry.
Your name is unpronounceable. It's not our fault. If you're going to be a public figure, you should probably make sure that most people can pronounce your name. Just saying, not to be a dick, but seriously.
Like I'm sure people can pronounce Mortimer right off the bat. I remember how many times the first time we started
And
this.
you are not the only one who gets it wrong for some godforsaken reason. Mortimer is not that hard unless you make it hard.
Remember how many times I said Mortimer?
Yes, I know. And again, you are not the only one who said things like Mortimer. Mortimer was one I got a lot in school.
Right. Shall we? Oh, by the way, that is absolutely wrong. By the way, like
I almost expected you to just start laughing as soon as you finished reading the title, because I know from what you've eventually convinced me that Superman is not completely worthless as a character, which is a feat to do because you know how I felt about him before.
oh
But
hey Ed Brewer, just hey guys.
hey Ed,
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So yeah. Just well, it is wrong. Like you look at the history. Like if we're going any version that's okay. Well, this is specifically obviously like live action. Yeah. Even like Henry Cavill's version is.
Well, Henry Cavill is actually his version is extremely powerful as
Yeah.
far as Superman go, but like
He's not written right. He's not written.
yeah, he's just not he's not written correctly because Zack Snyder is an edgy, randy, and objectivist brat who doesn't understand the need to do things simply because they're the right thing to do.
Right. And even in comics, Superman is so objectively stronger.
He moves planets when he feels like it.
He grabbed Infinity once.
So yeah, it's
Like,
just going based on power scaling. This no,
right.
like I get the argument, and I do get the argument because I made a similar argument to this when it came to somebody on Facebook was arguing Omni-Man versus Goku, and I said Omni-Man because Omni-Man is a vicious fuck, whereas Goku is a child.
Well, also age difference with experience too.
Yeah, and also training in the case of Omni-Man, whereas Goku, he has a lot of martial arts training, but he has no like actual tactical training. Omni-Man versus Vegeta, though, that would be an interesting fight, but that's not germane to the thing at hand.
Yeah. But yeah, moving on. The Boy showrunner Eric Kripke believes that Homelander Anthony Starr could easily defeat DC Superman. Amazon Prime's live-action superhero series is known for regularly skewing well-known tropes of the comic book genre, including archetypal characters from the Marvel and DC universes.
In other words, being an edgy brat who hates the superhero genre but still wants to profit from the superhero genre because reasons.
It was it? No, it wasn't Warren Ellis. It was Garth Ennis.
Yes,
who wrote The Boys.
I always get their names
Right?
mixed up because the Ennis and Ellis I think are where I'm, and like Warren and Garth are also kind of spelled similarly, so it's just
I feel like that's a stretch, but their last names are so
similar. Yeah, and also not their creative style is also fairly similar. Although I have to admit, especially post Castlevania series, I have a mass amount of respect for Warren Ellis.
Yeah, I think Warren Ellis is better at it than Garth Ennis. I think Garth Ennis,
they're both very much born out of like the 80s punk and like surreal like philosophy movement, but Warren Ellis is honestly, frankly, much more intellectual about it. And I'm not just saying that because he gets occultism right when he does it. But to be fair, some portion of my compliments go to him for getting magic right. Because again, Castlevania series was so well done from a occultist looking at it from a magical accuracy perspective. Good on you, Mr. Ellis. But again, that's neither here nor there.
um
Whereas Garth Ennis stayed in his edgy teenage mode from the 80s and never grew up, basically.
Well, yeah. Okay. Moving on.
Yeah.
Okay. The second season premiered in 2020, with The Boys season 3 currently on the way. Okay. Although The Boys lampoons anything and everything from the superhero genre. Sorry, I read that wrong.
Mhm.
One of the clearest analogs depicted in the show is the Homelander versus Superman comparison. Okay. And again, kind of like it's a pseudo side rant a bit,
Mhm.
but I watched a few video essays on The Boys. That's because I do that because I believe Garth Ennis said in an interview once, and feel free to correct me, anyone in the comments or anything wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe he had said at one point that he believed that someone given the powers of Superman would not use it to save the world, but would, I don't know if it was enslave or just abuse it.
The long and the short of it is, Garth Ennis expects that someone who has the powers of Superman would just declare themselves the God King and spend the rest of their lives doing nothing but hookers and blow. Is effectively the long and the short of it.
Yeah, you know that actually, like, if you had the powers of Superman, blow wouldn't do shit to you.
Yeah, you'd have to find some sort of super variant of like kryptonite infused blow in order to get anything out of it.
Right. Fuck, I had, but
The thing Garth Ennis said about how someone with Superman's powers would just become a lazy hedonist fuck.
That's what he said.
Well, no, I'm paraphrasing, but the long and the short of it is he expects that the person with Superman's powers would become a tyrannical brat who overindulged in every vice possible.
Right. But the version of Homelander isn't exactly that. Like, compared to the comics version.
Yeah, because he wasn't raised by a good down home family like Clark was. He was born in a lab and psychologically abused from like the age of 1 up onwards.
Yeah. No, Ed Brower, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. I can see
No,
why it could come to that. Yeah, power doesn't corrupt, it reveals.
yeah. The thing with power, and actually I think the best explanation of this was done in Captain America the First Avenger movie. Power doesn't corrupt things, it magnifies things. The problem being is that means because power magnifies things, if a person has any flaw, the flaw also gets magnified. And you could make the argument that even in the MCU, this is the case because um, Steve Steve before the super soldier serum was still an arrogant little shit, and post serum, despite all the good qualities that Captain America does have, he is sanctimonious and uncompromising as fuck when it comes to his moral standards. So you could make the argument that just like Erskine says, good becomes great, bad becomes worse. And it's very much the same way with any kind of power. Power doesn't corrupt. However, if there is any potential for corruption in a person, because power magnifies all things, any flaws they have will also become proportionately magnified.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all you need to do is find someone who is basically uncorruptible to put in positions of power. The problem being is generally those that seek power are sociopathic pricks who were abused as children. And sociopathic pricks who were abused as children may be ruthless enough to obtain power, but are also the people least likely to actually do anything good with it because they are broken.
Right. Moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both are capable leaders of powerful superhero teams, with Homelander leading the Seven and Superman leading the Justice League. And both are arguably the most powerful heroes in their respective universes. However, while Superman is a paragon of heroism, Homelander's image is largely a facade, belying his murderous sociopathic tendencies. Okay, yeah, that's all true.
Yeah, fair enough. The main issue I'm gonna take with this though is the power scaling problem because
Okay,
the,
sorry.
go ahead.
All right, hold on. Ed Brewer politicians go in with great intentions until they get there. AOC.
Yeah, but the problem with her is that she is too stupid to actually follow through on her intentions. But the point I made is still valid. The problem with such politicians are not they are susceptible to it's not the power itself that does the corrupting. It's that they don't know themselves well enough to know their own flaws. And because power magnifies everything, both good and bad, basically what you have here is assuming that people were like marble statues. What you have normally with normal people is a tiny little insignificant crack in the marble. But you build a giant statue of someone, and even the tiny little insignificant crack is going to be large enough to drive a fucking semi through. Same principle. It's not a question of the power actually changing the person. It's a question of scale. When you're a small, weak, pathetic person, your flaws are generally also small, weak, and pathetic. But when you are a powerful person, any flaws that you have will therefore become large, powerful flaws proportionately. When a person is 3 inches tall, it doesn't matter how evil and malevolent they are; they're not going to be able to do much damage to you. When a person is 50 feet tall, they can just be a little bit clumsy and end up destroying an entire city if they aren't careful. Kind of. You see the principle I'm getting at here. Moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, moving on. With The Boys season 3 getting closer and closer every day, showrunner Eric Kripke has started to get fans hyped for the return to the darkly satirical superhero universe. In fact, speaking with the Illuminati in a recent interview, Kripke revealed that he thinks Homelander would beat DC's Superman in a fight because the former is not constrained by the latter's moral code. Okay, before you get into the explanation, that Kripke gives,
Please.
I want to say, okay, it's not even about the moral code. It is legitimately biology that
Yeah,
makes
the power scaling.
Superman is stronger simply on a biological fact that he is, well, one, an alien. Homelander is just an augmented human. While he has all the powers of Superman, they are legitimately weaker than his.
Again, this whole thing boils down to a question of scale.
Yeah. And Dalton and I have had this very conversation many times when we've hung out.
Mm-hmm.
Like this very discussion. Granted, in DC Universe, yeah, Superman compared to other heroes may not be as strong or powerful, especially like with magic and stuff or cosmic powers.
Right.
But comparing him to the Homelander again, who is an augmented human,
Yeah.
who only has a serum that mutated him.
Mm-hmm.
Superman is an alien whose biology has absorbed yellow sunlight, which is a continual process. Because, well, as of right now, the sun is a constant for Earth.
Yeah. Thankfully.
Yeah.
But in any case, there's the other issue of comparing the universes to each other is simply a problem because here's the thing. Homelander may be the strongest hero in his universe, but compared to DC or Marvel, the boys' universe is weak sauce shit.
Yeah.
Is the problem. Most versions of Captain America could probably hand Homelander his ass. Let's be perfectly honest with ourselves about that. Judging solely from the feats we actually see them accomplish in their respective universes, we see MCU Captain America bench pressing, or actually no, curling a helicopter and literally throwing a giant ass Jeep or fucking what's the word?
Motorcycle.
Four-wheeler over his head and like doing acrobatic moves with it. The biggest thing we see Homelander do is slowly and with some difficulty moving a plane.
No, he didn't do that.
And yeah, that's right. He did actually complain about being able to stop the plane in mid-flight. Whereas every version of Superman that we're aware of is at least strong enough to actually stop a plane in mid-flight. In the case of Brandon Routh's version, he did it like with like one hand, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's not even the moral code.
It's just a matter of his punches. Homelander's punches wouldn't do anything. Superman would probably just stand there and let him wail on him just to humor him, and then like one punch him. Not to mention the famous scene with Darkseid in in that one clip that I always end up citing when it comes to Superman. He considers everyone else on Earth and everything else on Earth to be made of either cardboard or glass, and is excited when he meets Darkseid for the first time because, quote, you can take it, unquote.
Yeah.
So if he can stand toe to toe with a literal deity, because Darkseid is a literal deity, lest we forget, even though the comics half the time forget as well, then and he does just flick him with his like two fingers when he does unload. So assuming that we're talking about a Superman that can do that, Homelander's going to end up broken no matter how gentle Superman tries to be.
Yeah. Again, and if we're going by movie versions, because I think he's comparing Homelander to Henry Cavill's Superman.
Yeah.
Not only is Superman incredibly stronger from what we've seen in the movies,
Mm-hmm.
like DCU, DC.
I mean, he lifted a bus when he was like 13 from the drowning of the bus scene there.
Yeah. Snapped another Kryptonian's neck, which is controversial, I'm aware, but just to
as a feat of power demonstration.
Yeah. Destroyed instantly. Well, I don't know if that. I mean, I'm sure Homelander could do something like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Which he flew right through, like Superman flew right through that drone at the beginning of BBS.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, again, if we're going with Justice League as well, like Zack Snyder's Justice League,
Mm-hmm.
he's faster. He's a lot faster than Homelander. Like, I'd say even faster than A-Train.
Yeah. Because again, A-Train might be the fastest speedster in his universe, but compared to any version of the Flash or Quicksilver, and he's fucking Slowpoke Rodriguez from the Looney Tunes.
Yeah. So, again, like just on power scaling, no, the Superman can easily beat him. Like,
and let's not forget that Superman has had to deal with beings with a similar moral compass to the boys before. In particular, the Authority, or rather, the Elite from Superman versus the Elite.
Mhm.
And true, it took him a while to actually get to the point where he felt like doing anything to them, but once he got there, he was able to deal with most of them in like the space of 5 seconds.
Yeah, never compromised himself too.
Yeah, it's actually one of the better Superman moments I've ever seen. And again, this is coming from someone who, while I like Superman a lot more now, having talked to Brainstormer over the years than I once did, he's still far from the top of my list of
Which,
superheroes.
yeah, which is fair. And honestly, I've gotten more appreciated out of like the Golden Age, Silver Age, and also mystical characters because of Dalton. And I can see
Mhm.
why. Like, like on a scale of power in the DC universe, Superman is, I'd say, relatively like maybe if we're including the magical characters, I'd say in the 50s,
Yeah,
maybe.
like to quote my favorite quote from the Superman the Animated Series episode Hand of Fate. He is strong for a mortal, but a mortal is all he is.
Right. Yeah. Also, again, Homelander has no training, no skills really when it comes to using his
Yeah,
ability.
he just brute forces everything.
Yeah, Clark, for one thing, because of his morals that he was taught, right?
Has to find clever solutions to things rather than just I'm gonna kill everything.
Well, that and also he has had to learn to, like, in a monk kind of way, to learn how to control himself. To
Because if not, then the world is made of glass and cardboard.
Yeah, like he has to be constantly in control. You know, if he doesn't, he could hurt someone or destroy something with just, I don't know, a sneeze.
Yeah, fortunately, we don't ever see Superman sneeze because, unsurprisingly, earthly viruses don't do shit to him,
I
except for
mean,
the one time when his powers were kind of on the fritz in Smallville.
I
And
mean,
even then, his sneeze blew off the back of a barn
you could.
into like the next road over.
I mean, there's still like dust and pollen and stuff that could, things that could tickle his nose to make him sneeze.
Right.
So, but yeah, he's again on a power scale. Homelander does not hold a matchstick to him.
And again, I would call it a serious point of contention, even if it was Homelander versus Captain America, there would still probably be a fight there, just because, again, Homelander is stronger than the humans in his universe in a world where there's like maybe 15 superheroes altogether, but compared to compared to superheroes from literally any other universe, he's kind of fragile, to be perfectly honest.
Right? Yeah, like okay. I don't know if you've seen Luke Cage, Dalton, like
Yeah.
Netflix Cage. Remember the scene where like one of the guys tries to punch Luke Cage and like
Hmm.
it shatters his hand to the point where like bones sticking out of it.
Yeah.
That's what I imagine with Homelander. But the thing with like, unlike Luke Cage, Superman actually like has to consciously like flex his muscles. Like I actually heard this like kind of theory is like
Yeah.
Superman flexes his muscles to the point like so his villains that are punching him don't hurt themselves.
Yeah. It's similar actually in some ways to even Spider-Man, because from what I remember of just little factoids I picked up over the years, Spider-Man's like standard carrying capacity is 10 freaking tons. So in order to swing through New York without pulling down the buildings, even Spider-Man has to hold back significantly.
Sorry, I had to talk to someone off screen.
I heard the door open. I assumed as much.
Yeah.
Grandpa or Martin this time?
Yeah. Don't worry about it. I'll tell you after. Uh.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So moving on.
Yeah. Unless you had anything else to add to things.
No, I don't. All right. I mean, it's definitely the quote here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely Homelander because Superman has morals and Homelander is like a hardcore sociopath. So it's like Homelander has no problem ripping off Superman's testicles, like zero.
If he tried that, that's just going to end up embarrassing Homelander because he's going to try to punch Superman in the balls, and his hand is going to break into probably 1,000 pieces.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, I have nothing to say that. I guess you took everything there. Uh. Yeah. And Superman's gonna be like punching above the belt.
Yeah,
Well,
and go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, with just a flick of a finger, Superman could send Homelander flying. I don't know to the. Okay, if the Seven's based in New York, California.
Hmm.
So it's kind of not a contest. It's like the next thing.
Right, but okay, so we see DC animated universe's version of Superman flicking off Darkseid like that, and there's no way Homelander's strength is comparable to Darkseid. So, assuming that he does the same maneuver to Homelander as he did to Darkseid, I think Homelander's probably gonna need a fucking ambulance after the flicking that Superman would get. That's that's why he gets. That's why Superman gets excited when he realizes who he's facing when he faces Darkseid, because that means he can finally, for like 5 seconds, ease the fuck off his control for 5 seconds. Now, granted, maybe Homelander could annoy Superman to the point where he would consider him to be too dangerous, or maybe he would, because let's face it, Homelander is a sociopath, but I see that as, if anything, that's a hindrance to Homelander's survivability of this, because if Superman realizes that he's dealing with a superpowered sociopath, he might actually be persuaded to ease off a little bit of his control, and then Homelander winds up in fucking intensive care, breathing through an iron lung for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's only if Superman realizes that he's a fucking actual danger to people, or if Homelander started to actually endanger people. Like to, because I could see that. I could see a situation where Homelander would start endangering ordinary people just to annoy Superman because he realizes that Superman cares about them, and then Superman would stop holding himself back quite as much, and Homelander would be hit through like an entire city's worth of buildings.
Hmm.
Actually, the only way Homelander would even stand a chance, technically, I think, would be if Lex Luthor realized his potential and actually souped him up with some kind of LexCorp version of the serum, then maybe that would work. But other than Lex Luthor or somebody else in Superman's rogues galleries amping up Homelander's powers so he could stand a chance against him, Homelander's fucked, and quite embarrassingly fucked.
Yeah.
Like first his body shatters, and then his ego shatters.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna. I don't have anything to say. I just moving on.
Yep.
One of the defining elements of Superman's persona is the strict moral code that he carries into battle with him. In most depictions, he refuses to kill, and he often pulls his punches in battle. Homelander, on the other hand, has a power set similar to Superman, flight, super strength, laser eyes, etc., but is not constricted by that moral code.
Okay, but again, the issue here is a question of scale. Homelander is stronger than the average human by a country mile, but he's a child in comparison to literally every other superhero in any universe ever. Like, Spider-Man once punched the Hulk into space. Captain America regularly bench presses fucking cars.
Hmm.
And Superman can move planets when he feels like it. So, nah.
Okay. In the universe of the boys, Homelander and all other members of the Seven are known as killers. Couple that with the fact that Homelander does not have a known fatal weakness, and Kripke seems to think the blonde superhero would easily take out the Man of Steel. He does have a fatal weakness, which is his ego.
And his narcissistic need to be the most powerful person in the room, which would honestly be the more crippling of the two of the
Well,
blows here, because
also the third thing, which is his constant need to be liked and loved.
yeah, he much like the elite, he has to catch everything he does on camera. Every good thing he does needs to be on camera so he can be adored for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Superman.
And
Superman isn't really a spotlight, even though like he gets it, sure, but
mhm.
that's just because like he's willing to talk to people. Like he's not unlike Homelander, he's not faking when he's the nice guy. You know?
Yeah. And again, maybe you'd have an argument if it weren't for the issue known as Superman versus the Elite, but Manchester Black and the rest of the Elite basically have a similar moral compass to the boys, generally speaking, because unless I'm misremembering, um, it was literally a response to comics like The Boys that Superman versus the Elite was made, or rather, in the case of the comic, What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way. But in any case, he's dealt with people like the Seven before, and even if all seven of the Seven fought Superman at once, like one on seven, um, it's going to be a very heavily slanted in favor of Superman fight there. Like, even if all seven of them decided to go insta kill on him, they'd have a hell of a time even doing it. It again be kind of similar to um Omni-Man versus the Guardians of the Globe, except if the Guardians were trying to be like you know what I'm saying.
If the roles
It,
were
it in terms of in terms of power scaling, not in terms of like bloodshed and shit.
well, if the roles were reversed, basically.
Yeah, yeah. If Omni Man genuinely was the Superman like character, and the Seven were all, or the Guardians of the Globe were all sociopaths, you'd still have a similar outcome just by virtue of the power scaling involved.
Yeah. Um.
And actually, it'd probably be worse because I'm betting that Superman is stronger than most Viltrumites. Thrag would give him some trouble,
More
and
conquest.
so would Conquest. But like, but the average Viltrumite soldier would still it'd be hard to even because Brainstorm and I talked about this once when we were postulating what would happen if he had the powers of Superman, basically. And the ironic thing is, and I didn't even think of this, it was Brainstormer who thought of this, but just by virtue of the hardness of a Superman-like character's skin, a Viltrumite would have a hell of a time because their skin literally basically is invincible.
Yeah. Moving on.
Yeah.
Right. Though an on-screen Marvel and DC crossover event seems like something that could potentially happen someday, crossover between the Boys universe and DC seems a bit more likely. No, it doesn't.
Maybe when Zack Snyder was in charge of it, my love, but not now.
Yeah. As such, it's difficult to determine whether or not a fight like this could ever happen on the big or small screen. That said, fan enthusiasm counts for a lot these days, so one is left to wonder if this crossover could possibly happen.
Yeah, but if the power scaling was kept consistent with their respective universes, it would literally be Homelander flailing at Superman like a toddler, and Superman just sort of standing there humoring him
Right.
until he felt like not humoring him anymore.
Fan enthusiasm counts for a lot these days, so one is left to wonder if this crossover could possibly happen if audiences generate enough support for it. Until then, audiences will have to wait and see what Homelander does next in his own universe when season 3 of The Boys debut on Amazon Prime.
I'll be amused if that ever does happen, because it basically will just be Homelander flailing like a toddler and Superman just standing there until Homelander gets angry and pissed off enough to try and threaten people, and then Superman just knocks him unconscious. Like there's a scene in Smallville where this was when Clark had was infected by red I can't speak, red kryptonite, and therefore was kind of being edgy and had lowered inhibitions. And his father, i.e., John Kent, tried to stop him, and Superman literally just gently flicked him on the forehead, and it knocked him unconscious. I imagine it would be fairly similar with Homelander. And we're waiting for the next thing to pop up then. And I assume Brainstormer is dealing with things off screen because he's muted.
I'm back.
Is
I was setting things up, and yeah, I was taking care of something off screen.
mhm.
Yeah. Final thoughts on that. Narrow scaling, it's not even really a contest at all for any version of Superman against Homelander. Superman will win the physical battle. This is the thing I've never really gotten, though, is like, what about the philosophical battle? Because that, to me, always seems more interesting.
Well, I mean, we've already basically had this in the form of Superman versus the Elite. So
Yeah.
like even if all 7 of the 7 decided to go, full tilt against Superman, He probably just do to them what he did to the Elite, and it'd be called a day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a very stupid thing that was said by Eric Kripke.
And I get it. I think this was done mostly as a publicity stunt for the boys. Like it's the same way how The Rock is doing the same thing, constantly tagging Henry Cavill in the Black Adam could totally beat Superman, arguments on Twitter. But that's less annoying because both parties involved are massive geeks, which, given how scary and intimidating both gentlemen are, that's kind of hilarious to me. But with Eric Kripke, because I mean, not to be mean or anything, but you agreed to make a The Boys show, and nothing you've said about The Boys since you started making it has led me to believe you're anything other than a cynical bastard who hates the superhero genre. So the problem, Eric, is Dwayne Johnson and Henry Cavill can get away with it because they actually seem to care about their respective characters and the worlds they're from, whereas you are a cynical jackass who basically just wants to inflate his own ego. Ironically, very much like Homelander.
Mm-hmm. So moving on.
And I honestly almost want somebody to tag Henry Cavill in this to see his reaction, because because by all accounts, Henry Cavill is actually a really, really nice guy. And if we wanted to see a real life version of the Superman versus Homelander fight, somebody should let Henry Cavill know that Eric Kripke said this, and then we'll basically get the philosophical battle over Twitter of like, Henry Cavill uses really, really nice guy, and it is super effective. Meanwhile, Eric Kripke remains annoyed and cynical and honestly probably narcissistically injured because he can't claim that his character would beat Superman anymore in Derp.
Yeah. Moving on.
Yep.
That is something Dalton has been waiting to talk about.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
I'm on the fence about it. I'll talk about it as we go on.
My main concern is we did a reaction to the leaks that leaked a little bit ago, and this is looking awfully similar to the leaks,
Right. So this
and
thing.
that makes me scared.
Right. So this is the official teaser for Marvel Studios' Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So shall we, Banana?
We shall, banana.
That smell. It's killing us. Why? We tampered with the stability of space-time. Multiverse is a concept about which we know frighteningly little. Your desecration of reality will not go.
I mean, tone's okay, I guess.
I see. I'm of mixed feelings because I'd like this to be both darker and lighter at the same time because it's Sam Raimi doing it, and he's very good at doing like horror comedy. So for one thing, I wish the color palette was a little bit more vibrant, because again, it is Sam Raimi, and he's good at doing dark supernatural stuff while still having it be like over the top and pulpy and cartoony looking. But then again, this is the first trailer, and they technically haven't even wrapped the movie yet because they had to basically reshoot like 70% of the movie from like January of last year to May of this year. So, yeah, I have aesthetic issues, but I had aesthetic issues with the first Doctor Strange trailer too. So, of the first one, and it ended up being better than I thought it would be. So, I will give them a couple months to get an actual proper trailer out before I bitch about the aesthetic. Will, however, bitch about the plot and how much it seems to be confirming what the leaks said, because the leaks were really, really badly written fan fiction. And I was hoping that part of the reshoots would be rewriting that shit. So, banana.
Yeah.
Brainstormer.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know. The screen was weird.
Okay. No problem.
Let me slide over. There we go. Yeah. Banana.
Banana.
It was the only way. But I never meant for any of this to happen.
See, I don't want to be mean to Rachel McAdams here, but I was fine with the way they left off in Doctor Strange, in Doctor Strange 2016, and I never had any desire to see her again ever, because I liked the idea that Strange doesn't need a goddamn love interest, at least not until Clea shows up. Because the thing about Doctor Strange that everyone forgets is the kind of sorcery he learned under the Ancient One was the kind of sorcery that required a person to act like a monk, and monks aren't supposed to allow for attachment. This is a thing in the comics, and it's been a thing in the comics since the 60s. He should behave and think like a monk, which means he should try his darndest to minimize his attachment to the material world. And the reason why is a practical reason why, namely, his job is to maintain the flow of existence and basically become an enforcer for the laws of physics. You can't do that and also care about people. Because when you do that and also care about people, it always goes horribly wrong. You can't be the guy who oversees the show and also an actor in it. Them's the breaks, I'm sorry, but when your job is to make sure that the sun rises tomorrow, or to make sure that people's nightmares don't literally eat them alive, which they can do in the Marvel Universe, you don't get to play best man at your old colleague's wedding anymore. I'm sorry. This is really stupid, and it shows just how little the Doctor Strange of the MCU has changed and evolved relative to his comic counterpart. Because Doctor Strange in the comics actually went on a spiritual journey, actually learned to be humble. Doctor Strange in the MCU, vis-a-vis No Way Home, apparently hasn't learned a goddamn thing. Because he's still willing to meddle for the sake of helping Peter in No Way Home. And no, the movie doesn't make it better, really. I was hoping the movie might give it a little bit more context. Although there is a scene where he does call Peter kind of on his bullshit by pointing out that Peter didn't bother to plead his case to the admissions board of MIT before convincing Strange to brainwash all of the planet. So there was at least a little bit of acknowledgement of that, but it's still the number one message for Doctor Strange in the MCU has thus far been, it's not about you, don't meddle, you ignorant fuck. But apparently, as of No Way Home, he's still willing to meddle unnecessarily. So, yeah, the problem being, this Doctor Strange hasn't learned a goddamn thing, but I was at least liking the idea that they could have a major female character in his first movie in the form of Rachel McAdams, who becomes Night Nurse in the comics, and not have them be a romantic interest. Alternate Strange is a little bit different because Alternate Strange, their relationship was still going on at the time of the accident. So I will give you Strange Supreme. I will give you Strange Supreme. But modern, mainline, main universe Doctor Strange in the MCU, I liked the idea that he was going about it at least a little bit like a monk, and therefore didn't need a goddamn love interest. So I didn't need to see Rachel McAdams in this movie. And if it were just like he was caught at her wedding when he was called off on business, kind of like Reed Richards was when he was getting married to Sue in the second of the Tim Story Fantastic Four movies, that would be one thing. But we actually see her later in this trailer, which implies that she's there through all of it for some reason, or at least a large part of it. I'm just like, why is she here? Given that we haven't seen her on any of the other adventures Strange has gone on in the interim. Like if we saw her in Infinity War, I wouldn't have this wouldn't have bothered me as much because it would have still meant that she was involved. But now it just seems like they're bringing her back for the sequel just for the shits and giggles. I don't like it unless, and maybe this is possible, but unless it's revealed that Rachel McAdams' character is actually Clea or was actually Clea all along, then maybe I'll give you that, even though I think that's a little bit arbitrary and stupid. Banana.
Well, I did have something.
Yeah, unless you had something to say. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I was going to kind of disagree with, like, I think color-wise, it's weird. Like, there's kind of a weird blend of, like, certain colors pop, like, here, like, with Doctor Strange's clothes, and, like, everything else seems muted. You know, it's...
Yeah, I just don't know quite what aesthetic they're going for, and it's bothering me. But maybe it's just a matter of they haven't color corrected it, because they must have been rushing out this trailer so that it could be the post credit scene for No Way Home. They must have been, because as far as I'm aware, when No Way Home came out, they weren't even finished doing the reshoots on Multiverse Madness. So the trailer department must be rushing. So I'm not being super bitchy about the aesthetic, because I imagine some poor VFX artist had to work their ass off to even make this a thing on time. But still, what I'm mostly concerned about is the plot and how much it jives with the leaks, which were terrible, which we did cover on this show, like I want to say 10 shows ago, or thereabouts, because it was the entire December was for, I think most of November we did after that episode. So yeah, it would have been, no, is it before October that we did the response to the leaks? Or no, I think it might have been the episode after October finished. So it would have been the first week in November. So yeah, eight episodes ago, we covered or thereabouts, we covered the Doctor Strange leaks and how much like bad fan fiction they were. And one of the things that was like bad fan fiction is, for some reason, Rachel McAdams' character is back for no adequately explained reason. So yeah, I'm mostly concerned with the plot and how this seems to jive with the leaks, even though they moved the movie ahead 6 months so that they didn't have to do what the leak said. But oh well. Banana.
No.
Wanda.
I like this scene. This is the one scene of the trailer where I'm like, okay, this makes sense. Though I wish there was a little bit more on the topic of Westview than just I'm not going to bitch at you for that, because I mean she did capture an entire town of people. And yes, she didn't realize she was doing it, but still, goddamn you.
Sorry, I'm trying to find something. Just they did a quick. There we go.
Yeah, America. Again, one of the things that pissed me off in the leaks was, for some reason, they're turning America Chavez into the main character in this movie. This movie that's supposed to be, I don't know, a sequel to Doctor Strange. Like, they already have plans to give America her own show. If you want to do America, have her have like a 5-second cameo in this, and then give her her own show. Don't make her the main character in a Doctor Strange movie. Certainly not in the form of a living MacGuffin, because I can't imagine that even the fans of America Chavez, the few that there are now after Gabby Rivera's run, um, would be fine with her being treated like a living MacGuffin, which is according to the leaks how she's treated. She's treated like a living MacGuffin because her power allows her to traverse the multiverse, which Wanda apparently needs to find her children again, even though she has the fucking Darkhold and has had the fucking Darkhold for at least 8 months, according to the timeline, which should be more than enough to do anything she could ever conceivably need, especially considering she's the Scarlet Witch and is in tune with Cthulhu's power to begin with, but that's rage. Banana.
No.
I knew sooner or later you'd show up. I made mistakes, and people were hurt.
I'm not here to talk about Westview.
Then what are you here for?
I need your help.
With what?
What do you know about the multiverse?
Okay, I like this shot. This shot's cool. And I assume that the CG probably isn't done yet, but the general aesthetic of what they're going for appears to be cool. However, I think this might be the MCU's version of the Utopian Parallel, which America is from. And again, why the fuck is America A, being used as a living MacGuffin, and B, being used as the main character in a Doctor Strange movie? Like, I don't mind that she's here necessarily, but there are a lot more interesting mystical characters to be using, especially considering you've got to set up Blade and Moon Knight eventually anyway. And not to be that guy, but every fucker on the earth who watched WandaVision is begging for Mephisto and has been begging for Mephisto since WandaVision. And if you're going to introduce him anywhere, you probably should introduce him in Doctor Strange, because, make the sorcery movie about sorcery instead of turning Doctor Strange into a discount Reed Richards and making it all about alternate timelines and parallel dimensions and crap. Because that's not the kind of multiverse that fans of Doctor Strange are wanting. The kind of multiverse we want from Doctor Strange is the interdimensional multiverse, the kind that's populated by monsters and demons and elder gods and all the rest of that shit. As in the interdimensional multiverse, not the parallel universes physics type multiverse. The physics type multiverse can be done in either Ant-Man or Fantastic Four. But the Doctor Strange style multiverse, especially when it's called the Multiverse of Madness, should be more Eldritch and Lovecraftian, because hell, the title Multiverse of Madness is supposed to be a reference to either H.P. Lovecraft's Out the Mountains of Madness or John Carpenter's At the Mouth of Madness. So you give the movie a title that evokes H.P. Lovecraft and John Carpenter, I'm expecting some Lovecraftian bits. Or some John Carpenterian bits. But instead, we're going with the let's get cameos of alternate characters because marketability, derp. And it's gonna piss me off. Especially given that, again, it appears like America Chavez is the main character of Doctor Strange's second movie, because they don't know how to no one but the Russo brothers apparently knows how to actually do Doctor Strange correctly. And I say anyone but the Russo brothers because, yes, even Scott Derrickson didn't really know what the fuck he was doing, even though he tried like a motherfucker. The best use of Doctor Strange so far in the MCU has been in Infinity War, and I'm not even talking about the Thanos fight. I'm talking about the scene before the Thanos fight, where he's just sitting there talking to him. Because that conversation between those two was everything I needed. Not to mention all of the awesome exchanges between him and Tony Stark, which they managed to do without going, my magic is better than your science. Well, my science is better than your magic, derp. Because every time a science character and a magic character meet, there's always that annoying shit where they have to measure conceptual penises, and I'm just like, I don't know. They both exist, they're both valid, they both are worthwhile fields of study and endeavor, and you need to stop fucking dick measuring about them, please. But that's a sidebar for a different day. Banana. Unless you had anything to add. Stream is being weird today. Seems slow on my end.
Sorry, I muted myself. My bad.
Okay. Do you have
Yeah.
anything to add?
No, not really. I just oh, I mean, I was gonna say, like, even though like the CGI isn't finished, it still looks pretty good.
Yeah. I just wish they weren't. I just wish they weren't wasting it on the Utopian parallel when there are so many interesting dimensions within the mystical side of the Marvel universe they could be portraying.
Yeah. Shall we?
Yep, banana.
Banana.
I'm sorry, Stephen. I hope you understand. The greatest threat to our universe.
Okay, so this would make me upset if it weren't for the fact that it's been confirmed that this is Gargantos and not Shimmagorath. And you would think I would be more mad about them not using Shimmagorath, but here's the thing. It seems like they're going to use Gargantos as a one-off monster, and Shimmagorath is not a one-off monster. For those that don't know much about the Doctor Strange mythos, which is most people, Shimmagorath is to Doctor Strange what Darkseid is to Superman or Ra's al Ghul is to Batman. Shimmagorath is the reason in the comics that Strange takes the title of Sorcerer Supreme from the Ancient One, because he ends up having to kill the Ancient One so that Shimmagorath can't use the Ancient One's mind to come into the mainline Marvel Universe and take it over. And just to give full context of what happens to a universe that Shimmagorath takes over, the Cancerverse is allegedly a universe where Shimmagorath was allowed to come in. Because he and his species, the many-angled ones, are basically everything corrupt and chaotic about any given universe. So if they take over a universe, it overgrows cancerously. I.e., Shimmagorath can literally give the fabric of reality cancer. And it spreads to any universe it touches. So Shimmagorath is not a monster you can just one-off kill like they seem to be using Gargantos here. So in some ways, I'm mad because they've been Easter egging in Shimmagorath for months on What If. And I do want to see Shimmagorath as a villain in a Doctor Strange movie because he should be. But A, I would save him for the third movie. and he should be the main villain in any movie he's in. Because again, comparatively, Shimogorath is to Doctor Strange what Darkseid is to Superman or Ra's al Ghul is to Batman. That's the kind of importance that he has to Doctor Strange. So he shouldn't be a one-off monster. Granted, neither should the Dweller in Darkness have been a one-off monster in Shang-Chi, but here we are. But yes, I'm glad that they're using Gargantos here because number one, it gives them the potential to set up Namor because we know Namor is coming in Black Panther 2. And if you wanted to have Doctor Strange cameo in Black Panther 2, I would not be upset about it at all. But also, I'm more okay with Gargantos being used as a one-off monster than I am with Shimogorath being used as a one-off monster. Hopefully, Shimogorath will be one of the villains in Doctor Strange 3. Hopefully, also Nightmare and the rest of the Fear Lords, because Scott Derrickson has been dying to use Nightmare pretty much since he got the job in the first one, and they just didn't let him. So, at some point, somebody should use Nightmare, Despair, and the rest of the Fear Lords, which I believe does actually include Shimogorath, technically. Shimogorath has stupid levels of power and is a member of, 5 different evil, supernatural hierarchies. Anyway, Banana.
Yeah.
Is you.
Things just got
Okay, back that up just a little bit because I want to make sure I saw that correctly. What is he holding in his hands? The alternate Strange?
Hold on.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Because that looks like the Darkhold to me. I mean, the lighting isn't great, but I'm pretty sure he's holding the Darkhold. And if that's a version of Stephen Strange that's holding the freaking Darkhold, that's your headline. Alternate Stephen Strange empowered with the powers of the Darkhold. The good news is for our version of Doctor Strange, if the Darkhold exists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, then so does the Book of Vishanti. I'm hoping Doctor Strange 3 has him actually empowered by the forces of Vishanti, because I've been waiting for them to show up and give him the title for pretty much since the first movie. Although I'm glad they didn't make him Sorcerer Supreme in his first movie so that he could actually learn shit. And people didn't complain. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that whoever that evil version of Doctor Strange is, it's not Doctor Strange Supreme. It appears to be a version of Doctor Strange that was corrupted by the powers of the Darkhold, which would also explain the all black and even his skin is sort of faded and dark aesthetic. Because anyone who sits in a room alone with the Darkhold for any length of time at all is basically fucked and destined to become evil. It's like if you crossed the One Ring and the Death Note together. That's and also the Necronomicon Ex Mortis from Evil Dead. If you took all 3 of those and put them together, you'd have the Darkhold. Because the Darkhold does what it says on the tin and holds all dark magic within the Marvel multiverse. Which, does this mean we're getting Chthon? And if we're getting Chthon, then I will forgive the stupidity of America Chavez if that means we get a proper version of Chthon in this movie. Banana.
I mean, I did have something to say.
Okay, go ahead. Bless you.
That was a cough. Again, even though even though the CGI isn't finished, I still like the look of this.
Yeah, I mean the look isn't too bad. It's the plot that worries me.
Yeah. I first, yeah, I did think this was Doctor Strange Supreme, which confused me. Because of the ending of What If.
Yeah, it also doesn't jive with any of his motives. Like, what benefit does he have to be like an evil? Like, even at the end of his episode of What If, he basically renounced all of the evil he had been doing and begged the Watcher to save everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How an alternate version of Doctor Strange is more Doctor Strange than the actual Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Which is annoying, but at least I got to see a version of Doctor Strange that I can identify with in the MCU at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, this Doctor Strange is not Strange Supreme. He is Darkhold possessed Doctor Strange. Because that's the thing about the Darkhold. When you own the Darkhold also owns you. It's like the old Soviet Russia meme. In Soviet Russia, book owns you.
Yeah. 11 seconds left.
Yeah. Banana. I do like that title card. That title card is cool. I just wish it was attached to a much cooler movie that fit it. Because again, it seems like, as much as I hate it, the leaks were right. And that means that despite the fact that the title is a reference to Lovecraft and John Carpenter, the writer is a writer for Rick and Morty, the director is the director of Evil Dead and Darkman, and the composer is Tim Burton's go-to composer. For some reason, it didn't occur to them that they should just make a baby's first Lovecraft type movie using all of the Lovecraftian creatures and gothic creatures in the mystical side of the Marvel Universe, especially given that the MCU is an interconnected universe and they have to set up Blade and they have to set up Blade and Moon Knight anyway, so it would have made sense to bring them into here, and it would have made more sense for them to do a little bit of fan service and possibly bring in somebody like Mephisto, because, WandaVision, every motherfucker on the earth that watched WandaVision wanted Mephisto, but far be it from me to tell the MCU how to do their job, but I'm going to anyway. Let the sorcery movie be about sorcery, please. If you want to do the kind of multiverse that involves parallel universes, alternate timelines, and alternate versions of characters we've already seen, do it in Quantumania, because that involves Kang and the quantum realm and all that nonsense, and it brings in Fantastic Four. Like, if you want to do that kind of movie, wait until Reed Richards shows up, because Reed Richards is always the one in the comics that discovers the multiverse. It does not make sense for Doctor Strange to do it, because Doctor Strange's version of the multiverse, the version of the multiverse the Masters of the Mystic Arts actually have to deal with, is not the alternate versions of people I already know type of multiverse. It's not the scientific quantum multiverse. It's there are higher and lower dimensions type of multiverse with demons and elder gods and shit in them. I.e., it makes more sense for Doctor Strange to wind up in Flatland than it does for him to run into alternate versions of himself. Because that's the kind of multiverse that Doctor Strange deals with, the interdimensional multiverse, not the multi-universal multiverse. I'm saying you can't do the multi-universal multiverse if you want, but I would wait for a science character to do it, like Ant-Man or Reed Richards in Fantastic Four, because that makes the most sense. Let the sorcery movie deal with sorcery things, especially considering you have supernatural characters you want to set up, like Blade and Moon Knight, and eventually probably also the Howling Commandos. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on that.
Right. And now we're going to end on kind of a lighter note, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
The Batman, the Bat and the Cat trailer.
Mhm. It seems like 2022 is going to wind up being DC's year because Batman looks good, Shazam 2 looks good, and Black Adam looks good.
Yep. I know.
Yep, banana.
Bruce Wayne.
Sorry?
I wouldn't be bothering you here, but your people keep telling me you're unavailable. You know, you really could be doing more for this city.
That line is the greatest troll ever.
Yeah,
So
I know.
many layers.
yeah, it really is. But also, I get it from a character perspective.
No, it makes sense in universe too. It's just from the sort of dramatic irony of the audience knowing what they're watching. It's like, oh, you, if only you knew. And presumably she will know before too long, because if she's Catwoman, then she'll know.
No, that's not Catwoman. That's actually an original character for this movie, who's a mayoral candidate.
Oh, well then, Madam Mayor, you will be fucked to death by dramatic irony in 3, 2, 1. Anyway, banana.
Yeah.
Your family has a history of philanthropy, but as far as I can tell, you're not doing anything.
The rip.
I'm sorry, I just can't stop laughing at the irony.
Yeah. I like how everything looks.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's a very old school aesthetic, but it's also not like washed out or anything. It's still got life and vibrance to it. It's just
Yeah.
also very dramatic looking. Reminds me a little bit of when I saw an interview with, I think it was Bruce Timm, talking about how when they were making Batman the Animated Series, they created an aesthetic they called Dark Deco. And
Yeah.
it seems like they very much Matt Reeves very much captured that same sort of aesthetic here.
Yep. Going?
Banana.
Banana.
He's asking for you. The killer left this for the Batman. Why is he running to you? You came. To try to reach you.
Eventually, it's all about the Waynes. If we don't stand up, no one will.
Yeah.
I hope nothing bad happens to the kitties. I want good things for the cats.
Yeah, this really reads like a. Like, I know it's based off like the Long Halloween, like one of the inspirations at least.
Hmm.
But like it does, like this whole story does feel very much like a. What's the word? Like a comic story, like a comic arc, you know.
Yeah, and
I
I still love the kind of John Doe from Seven vibe they gave the Riddler.
yeah, like believe it or not, the Riddler can be an incredibly threatening villain if written correctly.
Yeah, and honestly, I know we haven't seen him do anything with like traps or anything so far in the trailers, but I hope in addition to the John Doe from Seven vibe they gave him, they also gave him at least a little bit of Jigsaw, because I really like versions of the Riddler that can do like traps as well as puzzles.
Yeah. Shall we?
Plus, seeing Batman actually outwit a villain's death trap is not something we see very often. So
No, we cannot.
would be nice. Banana.
A lot of cats.
I have a thing about strays. The bat and the cat. It's got a nice ring.
New friend of yours? I'm not so sure. I'm just here to unmask the truth about this cesspool we call a city. You're
I really don't know what to say. I'm just
Yeah, it's just layers of badassery.
yeah, like the shots are cool. The from the action we've seen, it looks well made.
Yeah, well done, Matt Reeves.
Also, the stunt choreographers, the
Yes, and yeah, all parties involved.
Yeah.
And I hope that Robert Pattinson can actually pull this off.
everything I've seen, I definitely think he can.
I suspect he can, but there was that one trollish interview about him not wanting to exercise not too long ago, so I am the teeniest bit worried about it, but honestly, I think he just wants the stink of Twilight to be washed out of his mouth, so hopefully this is the thing that redefines him so that people stop making all the from vampire to Batman jokes.
Yeah.
Anyway, Banana.
a part of this too. How am I a part of this? Oh, you're really not as smart as I thought you were. Gross way. All these years, you lied to me, Alfred.
See, now, assuming that the Riddler knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman, now I'm anxious because that means he probably has to die so that he doesn't tell anyone the secret.
Oh no, actually, in the comics, Riddler always knew who Batman was. He just never cared enough to tell anyone. There's no.
Well, that's true, and if they do go that route in this movie, then I will be extremely pleased. But by standard like movie rules, generally when a character finds out a person's secret at any this early, it means they die by the end of the movie. And I want more of the Riddler because the Riddler is actually one of the more unsung, awesome Batman villains.
I've actually seen a video where someone made the argument that Riddler should be Batman's arch nemesis.
Yeah, it's at least arguable. It's at least arguable. But if it turns out that Riddler dies at the end of this movie, then I want Clock King for the sequel because that's the other unsung hero of the Batman Rogues Gallery, and not the one that actually has time manipulation powers, the one that's just so efficient that his efficiency becomes a superpower unto itself. That's the version of the Clock King I like best.
Yeah. Also,
Hey.
like, as much like we got 3 trailers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Granted, the first one was a teaser trailer. I actually lived up to the teaser part.
Yeah, it didn't actually show much of anything.
I still am like there's still a mystery around the story that I like, and it's not really giving you much. Like, not
Yeah,
like
it's a detective story, so of course they're not going to spoil everything.
yeah. Again, it's like it's doing like all the opposites of the things I hate about modern trailers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
It's
not
almost like when you listen to the fans reward you or something.
yeah. Anyway, there is a thing I do hope is like they don't forget about the characters, which it doesn't seem like they are, but you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this looks good. Again, the vibes I keep getting are like 7 plus Dick Tracy plus a little bit of Jigsaw, maybe, hopefully.
Yeah.
Plus maybe a little bit of The Sopranos because it seems like they're playing the monster angle with Penguin a little bit.
Yeah. Shall we?
Yeah. Banana.
Banana.
We all have our scars, Bruce. He's still away.
He's involved in this?
No, he's not involved.
How do you know? He's a vigilante.
Who are you under there? What are you hiding?
Selena, they'll throw your life away.
Don't worry, honey. I got 9 of them.
You know, as serious as it can be, you can also get a sense of like it's not overly serious. You know?
Yeah, there's a comedic timing here, which is nice.
Yeah, like they're not.
I
cheap.
feel like there's an extremely dark sense of humor at play here, especially with the thing earlier with the I don't think you do enough for the city. Like the humor that came off of that dramatic irony there is just glorious.
Like
So
I'm not gonna lie, like this comes off as like very much like a mid like a 90s movie.
yeah. Yeah, and it's still got like a pulpy throwback edge to it, which I enjoy.
Like maybe like a mid to late 90s to early 2000s movie a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like not even a superhero movie,
No.
just like a 90s, like late 90s, early 2000s crime movie, you know?
Yeah. There's almost like a Silence of the Lambs vibe to some of the Riddler scenes, which I wonder if they'll ever do the thing that they did in Nolan's Dark Knight and have him get captured and then break out. Because I could see there being major like Hannibal Lecter vibes to the Riddler if they do it that way.
Yeah.
Which a Riddler in the style of John Doe, Jigsaw, and Hannibal Lecter is the appropriate Riddler for me. So that would be good.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we?
Yeah. Banana.
It can be cruel, poetic, or blind. But when it's denied, it's through violence you may find justice. The answer's justice.
Come on, vengeance.
That was a good
I hope
riddle.
he doesn't actually go by that name. Like I like the "I am vengeance, I am the night" line as much as everybody else, but his original name should not be Vengeance.
No, I think that's just Catwoman being Catwoman.
Yeah, you mean it's Catwoman being catty?
Shut the fuck up.
I'm sorry. I would have been kicking myself for a week if I didn't take that.
You're not sorry. You are not sorry. Don't even act like you are.
I know. But you know, if I hadn't have said it, I would have hated myself for the rest of the week.
I know. Anyway, I did want to like point this out. I like the Batman voice. Like it's kind of reminiscent of Kristen Bale's. Kinda.
Without making it seem like he's fucking destroying his throat every time he talks.
Yeah. Like there is like a growl to it, but it's not overtaking the voice.
Yeah, it's kind of a sinister whisper sort of thing almost.
Yeah.
Which also there seems to be that same sort of vibe to the Riddler. So it's an interesting way of doing the hero fighting himself without actually doing a hero fighting himself thing. Because I really I like the duality of heroes kind of fighting a dark mirror of themselves, but so many movies recently have taken it so goddamn literally. And like in Multiverse of Madness, they're literally having Doctor Strange fight an alternate Doctor Strange, and I'm just like, that's not what the dark mirror concept is supposed to mean. Or like how they gave Killmonger a gold leopard suit for Black Panther. It's like, I get what you're going for. You're going for the dark mirror thing, but It's not supposed to be a one-to-one literal translation.
Yeah, this does seem like it because I did change a bit of Riddler's origin for this story, which I'm fine with because it does seem to work.
Mm-hmm.
Because they made him like an orphan, like Bruce,
Mm-hmm.
if I remember. But obviously, like very different in terms of like what they are and like who they became and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like the backgrounds and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, yeah, like I totally get that. Like I totally see that. Like there are a lot of similarities between them from everything we've seen here.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious to see like how that plays off of each other, like how that works. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's gonna be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we?
Yep. Banana.
No.
Let's get into some trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember someone saying that the action looked a little bit like the Arkham games,
Mm-hmm.
which I totally get, and I'm all for because I played those games actually,
Mm-hmm.
and one thing love them. And if you're gonna pull, like, if you're pulling stuff from like some like Batman's greatest hits in media, that's
Mhm.
more obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do hope like again like this isn't like a build up to a trilogy or anything like it's like kind of a standalone.
I don't know. I think if they do this right, we'll want more.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't want like I'm just kind of sick of like constantly trying to lead into sequels with things.
Don't build the first movie for the sequels. Build the sequels off of the first movie.
Yeah, like again, like because
Because
but everything we
Matrix Resurrections sequel begged hard, and it ruined it.
right. Yeah, this does seem like a self-contained story, and I'm all for. And if it does get like a trilogy or a series of movies, I kind of want to see, obviously, like the evolution of Bruce Wayne, like because from everything I remember is like it does seem like it's just Bruce kind of throwing himself into the Batman persona, which is really cool. Well, cool in the sense that, like again, like the character arc for that would have to be like he has to build up, like be also maintain the balance of like being also Bruce Wayne, and I want to see like the build up of him building up the persona of the billionaire playboy,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I also want to see a Robin because this feels like this Batman could have a Robin, even though like he is dark and stuff.
Yeah. Although they probably should wait for a bit.
I'm not saying like do that right off the bat or anything. I'm just saying like if we
it'd be that'd actually be an interesting way to cap off the series is to introduce a Robin in like his I don't know 5th or 6th movie, and then have that Robin grow into Nightwing.
yeah, Dick Grayson. It's just like also it's just I want to see a live action Robin, like a good live action Robin.
Yeah, because let's never speak of the Batman Forever or Batman and Robin versions ever again.
Or Titans.
Yeah. Leonard Arcami's Teen Titans, sure, but never Titans.
Yeah, just yeah, I'm very hyped for this movie. And I also think you're right, Dom. This probably is the year DC gets back its groove, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not its groove, but at least wins.
Yeah, it took them 1.5 iterations, but it seems like they finally figured out how to do this right.
Yeah. um
I just hope that Marvel at least gives them a run for their money instead of completely shitting the bed like it looks like they're gonna do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't have high hopes for Doctor Strange 2, and when one of the internet's most fervent Doctor Strange fans, don't have high hopes for Doctor Strange 2, you might just a bit have a problem there.
Yeah. So I don't have anything else to say. Do you, Don? Or
No.
okay. So with that, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, have a say, sayonara, peace, cheers, and
Happy New Year. Now go do a year's worth of fucking off.